Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the DCL Show, your source for Disney Cruise news and reviews. Coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined in the studio this week by my good friend and Dreams Unlimited Travel agent extraordinaire, Ms. Elaine Edwards.
Hi, friends.
And our producer extraordinaire, Mr. Craig Williams.
Ahoy, ahoy.
And this week, we're going to talk about something near and dear to my heart right now, why we are not canceling our cruises. But before we get to that, just a reminder, this show, along with all the content we produce, brought to you by DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com. If you like our content, that's how I pay for it. And you're going to pay the same price you pay Disney. And on top of that, we're going to give you up to $1,000 of shipboard credit. When you book through Dreams, you get an awesome agent like Elaine over here who's going to help you with all the questions you have regarding your Disney cruise. So please, DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com. And while you're here, if you could just do us a favor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And also, if you could hit that thumbs up button for us, really helps us out with YouTube. So nice and quick, I'll wait. Okay, good. All right. So, recently, the Centers for Disease Control advised people not to go on cruises because they are really just trying to kill my business. And I want to be upfront and very transparent. I am an owner in Dreams Unlimited Travel. I have a financial interest in you going on cruises. I'm not going to hide that. But if you have paid any attention to the shows I have done over the years on this topic and many others, I speak my truth, not my business truth, my personal truth. And if I was not comfortable going on a cruise, I would be sitting here right now telling you that. And if you want proof, go back to March of last year, the Dis Unplugged shows, before Disney closed down the parks. And I was telling people, don't come to Disney. Don't come to Disney. So I will say it, if that's what I feel. I am leaving 1 week from when we're recording this. I am going on a 3-night sailing on the Dream. I've done 2 since October. And there wasn't even a question in my mind if I was going on this sailing. As a matter of fact, I have cruises booked on all 5 ships that Disney will have sailing this year. The Dream, the Fantasy, the Wish, the Magic, and the Wonder. I'm booked on all of them. And I have every intention of going on those sailings. Now, my rationale behind that, I am vaccinated and boosted. I wear a mask when I'm indoors. I practice social distancing. I wash my hands because I'm not 3, which it took this to get people to wash their hands. And I have seen firsthand the protocols Disney Cruise Line, and I'm speaking only for Disney Cruise Line here. I've seen firsthand the protocols they use on the ship to keep people safe. Everyone is tested before they get on board. Everyone is vaccinated. And you have to prove that before you can sail. They have gone to great lengths to make it as safe as possible. Is it 100%? Of course not. But I think we, in general, have a decision to make. Are we going to hide in a corner and wait for COVID to stop being a thing? Or are we going to start learning to live alongside of it? Accepting the fact that we might get it. We can mitigate those risks as much as possible. And I do have comorbidities. I'm overweight. I have high blood pressure. I'm diabetic. I smoke. So it's not like 23 and full of vigor. And I'm aware of what the risks are. And I'm perfectly fine taking them. I'm perfectly fine with it. What about you, Ellie?
I feel a lot of the same sort of things that you said. And a big thing is that, we have to stress everybody has a very different level of comfort. And what we are comfortable with and what other people are comfortable with can be different.
Exactly. And there's no wrong choice.
Right.
There's no wrong choice. It's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to say that.
Right.
That my mother, who's 91, supposed to go on this cruise with us, she's not comfortable. And I had this discussion with her last night. I said to her, whatever you decide to do, you have my support. I'm not going to pressure you because she really wants to go. And she wanted to understand my rationale for going. And I explained it to her.
Well, I think it's not even just the on-ship experience, because that is just one portion of it. I think a lot of people are comfortable on going and being a part of it, knowing the vaccination requirements, but then you have to look at other factors. Like, I would love to go on a cruise with my wife right now, but she also doesn't get paid from work if she has to end up calling out of work because she was around someone who had COVID or contracted it herself. So then it goes from that nice little vacation to getaway to losing out on money and more time for work and not being able to see friends or family for the after point too. So it's like you have to be comfortable. It's one thing being comfortable to get on a ship, but you have to also be comfortable with what can happen if there was a result of a outbreak on a ship or any vacation destination for the time being. And so that's the bigger fear that runs in us. But I would be going if I had a cruise booked right now, besides podcast cruise. I'd be on.
Yeah. So it's a lot of that. And the way that I have kind of taken the last almost 2 years now is I can't control what anyone else does, but I can control what I do.
Amen.
And so, like you, vaccinated all the way. I was boosted 3 days after I hit that 6-month mark. So I was ready to go with that. I'm constantly washing my hands, like you said, masking, that kind of thing. And even if I am, like, if I'm in the parks, if I'm in an area, or even just if I'm at Target, and there's kind of a lot of people crowded up, I just kind of back up a little bit. I just kind of make my own space. I don't have to, if there's a crowd of people in a certain area, I don't necessarily have to go there. So I separate myself from other people when I'm able to. I stay away from other people when I can. And from going on the cruise that I went to in August, it's a very different experience than before when you're talking about just the people on board, because the Dream holds 4,000 people, and that's just guests. That doesn't even count the 1,000 of crew that would be on it. And those numbers are not currently there. One, because they're not booking full capacity themselves. They're not allowing it to be full ships. But then two, just because of low capacity booking right now. So when you're talking about that the ships are only a third or a quarter full, the crowds aren't there for you to even encounter.
I remember my first sailing back in October on Embarkation Day. And you know what Embarkation Day used to be like. It was a circus.
Yeah.
And sitting up on deck and looking and not seeing the throngs of people, I was like, this is awesome and creepy at the same time. But as you were mentioning, the ship holds 4,000 people. They're capping capacity, I believe, at around 1,600 is what I was told.
Okay.
And in some cases, they're not even hitting that number.
No.
And so I got to be honest. There are times where, like, I feel like I've got the ship to myself.
Right. I loved it because you could go up to, the adults only deck, or you could go out in the pool deck and there was always a chair. And in the past, you had to fight for a chair to sit in on deck. not the case now. There's nobody there. You had your pick of chairs.
And the one thing that I want to remind people, if you're going on the ship, when it comes time to tip, dig deep.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just took these servers who work on tips. That's where they make most of their money. If the ship is only a third full, they just took a 2/3 pay cut. Because there are that many fewer people, I think I'm saying that right,
Mm-hmm.
who are there to tip them. So I really try and dig deep. And for our dining room servers, I don't drink alcohol, but if I get a Coke from the bar, I leave a nice tip. Just to do my part. And you know what? I feel like I've got this ship to myself. Here's an extra $10.
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
I've been the same way, and I've just been thinking about how they've been out of work for over a year and that kind of thing. So I'm just like very much over tipping right now.
Yeah, whatever you can do.
Yeah. So, and another thing is, how you brought up the recent CDC announcement that, we've kind of talked about this a lot internally with our agents, that we really feel like there's a little bit of unfairness as far as the CDC and how they are kind of coming down on the cruise industry, unlike any other travel destination right now. And the thing to really think about is that, as you said, we're never going back to 2019. That does not exist in this life anymore. And so it's a moving forward mentality that this could be around forever, just like the flu. And that it just, it is what it is. And the Disney Cruise Line, from all of the research I have done, is doing even above and beyond so much better than some of the other cruise lines right now, as far as numbers, as far as what they're reporting, which is minuscule, like under 1%. And what they are finding is
saying under 1%
of positive cases, because they are, where that is coming from is they have to test their crew so often, like every few days, that there may be someone that is asymptomatic, and they're finding them because they're testing them like every 2 days at this point. And so that is those numbers that you're seeing coming up on the CDC website, but it's so low compared to any other cruise line. So it's that does not affect my decision to go on board, because I know that it's being taken care of and it's so little numbers.
I will tell you, I always lose count of my cruises. I think I'm at 33, 34 on Disney. These last two been the best experience I've ever had on board.
Right.
Best experience. And I didn't die. I survived. And that does help me in making my decision about going on again.
Mm-hmm.
That I've had the experience and it worked out well.
Right.
It worked out well.
And I kind of felt the same way, because I went in August. I went on the very first sailing that was public for Disney Cruise Line, and it was definitely my mind going in is like, okay, like you said, I didn't die. It was kind of it was a somewhat, I wasn't uncomfortable. I was ready to go, but it was definitely, this is going to be interesting to see what happens kind of a situation.
Right.
And I came off that ship like, I cannot wait to get back on. And I said, I do not hesitate to recommend cruising on DCL right now. I mean, it's...
Right. And the only reason I'll get on camera and say this is because I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is.
Right.
And I'm going to get on that ship. And look, you know what? Back in August, when they first rebooted the cruises, I was scheduled to go. And I canceled at the last minute because I didn't feel comfortable. And I was upfront about that on shows, that I didn't feel comfortable. So I do now. But again, whatever decision you make is not wrong. It's whatever makes sense to you. My personal feeling, got to learn to live alongside this because, as Elaine said, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. And I don't want my life to be spent hiding in a corner waiting for this to go away.
Right. Because
I feel like that's kind of what the strategy is right now.
Yeah.
And for me, that doesn't work.
And can we talk about, just real quick, since this is going to be kind of a timely episode, recently, Disney Cruise Line did announce a few policies that they've brought back as far as being flexible, that right now, if you are booked, I believe the date is through the end of May of 22, that you can modify your sell date up to 15 days in advance. Final payment is not due until 60 days out. Once you get inside of final payment, you can modify your sell date. When you're inside of 14 days, if you have been exposed to or tested positive for COVID, they will work with you to either reschedule or refund your money. So that gives you an extra layer of saying, okay, if something happens, I know I can reschedule my cruise. And that helps people feel more comfortable.
And also, one of the unintended consequences of COVID was highlighting the importance of having a travel professional. These guys worked their behinds off last year, changing dates, canceling, rebooking, rescheduling, answering the same question 800 times from their clients and doing it all with grace. And I was always been proud of my agents, but never more so than I was last year. But I heard from a lot of people saying, I'll never not use a travel agent again.
Yeah. Yeah. The policies are just kind of everywhere right now. It's a lot to keep up with, especially looking at different cruise lines. They have different policies, that kind of thing. And the last week has been very much a lot of people asking those kind of questions. I was at dinner last night at Steakhouse 71, was on the phone at the dinner table,
of course,
explaining to a client, these are your choices right now, that kind of thing. And I have a lot of people even scheduled right now for next fall. That's 9 months away. A lot's going to change between now and then. I don't think you need to be worried about your cruise that is in October, December at this time based on what is happening this second.
Right.
That's a long time away.
Disney has shown that they are very, very good about their cancellation policies in this circumstance. Mm-hmm. That if the situation is like it is now, you'll have options. Mm-hmm. You'll have options. Yeah. But keeping up with those changes is a task. And that's, again, where a travel professional comes in. Do you have something, Craig?
The only thing I was going to throw into is DCL is still in that special place right now with how the sailings are happening and the amount of people on there. That, as we've said, it's not always going to be like this. Eventually, it will one day get up to being full ships again. I mean, that's the only way they can sustain that business into the future is by eventually having everyone on board, unless the prices get just skyrocketing out of control. But I still think back to Walt Disney World when those parks first reopened after closing from COVID. That was like some of the best 3 months that I've had inside a theme park. And right now you can still experience a similar version of that on Disney Cruise Line. And I'm sitting here saying, I don't know if my schedule will allow me to cruise between now and our podcast cruise, but I am just keeping my fingers crossed that it's like that for podcast cruise too, because I want to get in on it, knowing how nice it is. All these destinations that you're used to being crowds and so filled with people, to have that experience where you can feel like you're more alone. Like it's weird, but it's special. And I know some people really like the experience of saying, "Oh, I I lived through watching other people's families enjoy all the vacation or other people's kids. But I'm not like that. I don't care about the people around me. I want less around me. So I'm jealous of
Well, I'm
everyone
from New
who's doing the
Jersey.
cruise.
You know, our state motto is "I hate people." You know, I've been practicing social distancing since I was like 4 years old. But I think that kind of gives you an overview of how we feel. And again, whatever your personal feelings are on the topic, you're not wrong. But we wanted to share ours. So that will do it for this episode of the DCL show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week. Have a great week, folks.